Hey guys, just setting up as usual. Shouldn't take too long. Right, hang on. Just a second. Right. Hang on, just a sec. There we go. Right. So yes, this should be the final part of the game. Hopefully. Just making sure that the sound isn't too loud. There we go. So yeah. Basically, hey Matt Wheaton, how's it going? Well, yeah, before Mass Effect, but this one's kind of weird because this section of the game was supposed to be a lot longer, and like how Mass Effect has multiple planets, this was supposed to be the second planet, but it ended up being the final dungeon. So, oh, hang on, what the heck? Yeah, sometimes it does that. But yeah. Oh shit, not that dude. But yeah, like this is the final dungeon, so, and it's basically the second world. And like I say, I was basically going to say that what's happened is a lot of shit. And if you watched last time, you probably get the gist as to what's going on, but basically we killed Asmodeus, we stopped the demons, and we saved Roke. But now a new villain has appeared, and oh, we got Meteor Swarm, nice. And yeah, I'm gonna equip that immediately because it's fucking amazing. And basically, what's happened is there's this new bad guy, and he's trying to essentially take out the Federation and shit and develop biological weapons, so we have to stop him, and that's basically all you get. Now, basically, the best way to describe it is the game was rushed. This entire dungeon, like, is the only thing you get to explore on the second planet. Like, you don't get to explore anywhere else on Fargate. This is the only place. So, unlike previous... hang on a minute, I'm just going to go around and check the treasure first. Unlike previous Star Ocean games where you're like oh, not previous, because this is the first. Unlike the other Star Ocean games like Star Ocean 2, 3 and 4, like where you all go to a second world and stuff, like 5 doesn't, but there's a reason for that, like mainly because it's trying to be like this game. Because like I say, a lot of people get pissed off by the fact that Star Ocean 5 doesn't have a second planet, but this game kinda doesn't have a second planet, and well, it does, but you don't really get to explore it, you just get straight to the final dungeon. And yeah, I think people kinda forget that when they talk about Star Ocean 5. And yeah, I kinda find that a bit unfair. Like, how can you say the game's shit because it doesn't have the second world? But I'm not going to stream Second Story, and the reason for that is because it's just too complicated. That's the reason why. Like, it's just too much for me to keep up with, and it was bad enough in this game for me to keep up with it all, but Second Story would require me to use a guide throughout the entire thing, and that would be a bit of a pain. Plus, there's a specific boss fight in that game who's an absolute pain in the ass, and I'd be basically spending hours on that boss fight. I don't want to go through it. But that's the thing, I don't know how I beat that boss fight on my first run through of the game, because I must have got lucky. But it's basically the boss fight in, like, it's on the first world, and it's near the end of the first world, and it's a pain in the ass. And I really don't want to go through that in the stream. It's just not a stream game for me at all. So I decided, you know, best not to do it, because I can just see it going wrong. I don't remember Star Ocean 2. I remember Star Ocean 1 more than I do 2. In fact, like, I know Star Ocean 1 more than I do 2. Like, Star Ocean 2 I know a bit about, but not much, because I missed a lot of shit. And yeah, I think you really need a guide at all times to play that game. And unless you know the game inside out and know everything about it, it's just not good stream material. That being said, however, one of these days I do want to go back to Star Ocean 5 and finish that, but I don't know when that will be. But yeah, 1 and 5, like, I've already streamed 5, so it's not like I haven't done it before, but like, I do want to go back and finish it one day, but not for a while. That's basically the gist of it. But yeah, I can't see myself streaming 2 because it's just too much. Like, it's hard enough to play this game, whereas 2 would be a living nightmare, considering how complicated it gets. Like, the characters in this game are easy to get because, like, a lot of them come, like, as part of the main story, whereas in Star Ocean 2 you have to do a lot of side missions to get them. And even the ones that do require side missions to get in this game are very simple. It's like getting to Neck, all you need to do is go into the arena and fight the arena until you find him. And you have to use Latix, and that's it, really. There's not really much to it. It's not really that difficult. Whereas in Star Ocean 2, if you want to get Ashton, you have to go through a lot of shit. And yeah, it's a pain in the ass. Plus, I find that there's a lot more characters that you miss, and there's a lot more complicated shit to go through, and that's the main problem that I have with streaming it. It's one of those games that, as I say, it's a guide game. A bit like Valve Profile 1, that's the same thing. You need a guide to get through it. If you don't have a guide, you're going to have a hard time. And that's a game that I've struggled to finish, let alone play. Like, I've never finished it. I got to the final dungeon, and then I realised that I get the B ending, and then I just stopped. That's how I approached Valve Profile 1. So yeah, a lot of people might think that I'm a big fan of the first Valve Profile, but not really. I'm not the biggest fan of it. I appreciate it for what it's like, for how it set the tone and like set the world up for the second game, but the first game was a train wreck to me. Like, when I first played Valve Profile 1, it was just, let's put it this way, it wasn't really pleasant to play. It had a lot going for it. It had an interesting setting and world that it built up, and I thought the cutscenes, that like the death scenes, were really well done. But I just think it's just not a game that I want to play. You know what I mean? Like, gameplay wise, after playing 2, I just can't go back. And oh, hang on, just identify, that's it. And yeah, that's the problem with that. Like, the PS2 Tri-Ace games are very difficult to play without a guide. Let's put it that way. Ooh, starving, nice. So that's the problem with it. I mean, it's not that I don't like the game. I just think that it'd be very hard for me to stream it, and that's the one issue with it. But ultimately, I don't know if I'll be doing any streams anytime soon, but at the same time, oh holy shit, Berserk sword, that sword looks pretty sick. But at the same time, I want to get this game finished while I have the time, because I'm not sure if I'll have the time to stream a full-on game later down the road. So yeah, hang on, I'm just trying to see if I can, what that item is that I just picked up. Right, halves the effect of starry spells. What? You see, I don't even know what this does. Right, misty symbol. Right, that's for someone else. I'll just equip this. Screw it. And what's he got? He's got his feather, but he's also got the fairy ring. Maybe I should equip the Misty symbol, because I want him to be stronger at this point. Yeah, and he just auto-equips himself, but I'm not going to use Euronix. It's nothing against the guy, it's just the fact that, what's the point? Like, what's the point in having a black mage in the party? Another thing I should mention is that this is like once you go and fight Asmodeus, that is basically the point of no return for this game. You can never return under normal circumstances to Rogue. Once you fight Asmodeus, that's it. You can never go back unless you have a certain ability. So if you want to go backtrack from here on out, you need to max out your Oracle skill. And once you do, you'll get to the developer's room, which essentially allows you to transport back to Rogue. And it also allows you to enter the bonus dungeon as well. But otherwise, you can't go back. So yeah, if you wanted to get items or something, like, yeah, good luck. you know, you have to do a lot of grinding if you haven't got maxed out Oracle. And I think you need maxed out Oracle. I'm not sure if you can just get it like basic Oracle, but I know that you need it to get through the developer's room, and yeah. But yeah, like, I just, like, as I say, because this game was rushed, like, and the reason why I think it's so rushed is because, like, you get this new villain, and he is an interesting villain when you think about it, when you get to him. But there's no real background to him. You don't really get to know much about him because the game rushes you to the final area and to the final fight. So you don't really get to see... You don't really get to interact with the villain beforehand, and as such you kind of don't really get the villain, if that makes sense. And plus there's these weird eyes around for some reason. Don't know why he's automatically equipped that Marvel sword. Don't know what that is. But yeah, that's the thing. Hang on. What's he got? No, it's not a sword for him. It must be a sword for Ratix. Oh, it's shit. An astonishing hit rate, but it's not as good. What has he just equipped? Hermit's Helm. That might actually be useful for someone. Like, can CS use it? Well, it's slightly better, so why not? And Ratix equipped that. Well, let's see if he can. Yes, he can, so there we go. Sorted. But yeah, like, I think the reason why they cut the final world out, like the second planet out, is mainly because of when this game was released. I mean, believe it or not, Suikoden 1 was released before this game. That's crazy, I know, but that's how desperate they were to get this game out. It was released at the end of the SNES lifespan, and understandably, you know, they wanted to get it out as fast as possible. And I think that's part of the reason why they made Star Ocean 2 to begin with, because they realized, you know, like, they needed to get another game out on PS1 to stay relevant. And that's another reason why we never got the first Star Ocean, because it was incomplete. And it just wasn't viable for Square. Well, it wasn't Square Enix back then. It was Enix. It wasn't viable for Enix to produce a game for the US and Europe, just simply because, like, it was unfinished, and the chances of it selling and doing well was very low. So yeah, that's the thing. So that's kind of why Star Ocean 1 was the way it is, and like, why it's an unfinished game. But I do think there's still a lot of good in it, and honestly, I think if this game was finished, I mean, First Departure kind of adds a little bit more, but I don't think even that game has, like, everything. I still think that game misses a lot of stuff. Like, the game does allow you to explore the overworld of Fargate, but I have a feeling there was more to it, and they were planning a whole other story to it. which wasn't in the actual, like, even in the remake. But the remake, they just kind of tried to add a little bit more, and I think they wanted to keep it true to the original for the most part, and they didn't want to, like, ruin or change too much, because they didn't want to add so much, if you know what I mean. Like, they wanted to keep the story the same, otherwise it'd get too complicated. I mean, it is a remake, not... It's a bit like how Devil May Cry 4 didn't, like... Oh, so it's pretty much shit then. Oh well. It's a bit like how Devil May Cry 4 wasn't finished, and in the special edition they didn't finish it either. It's like, it's just too complicated for them to finish it, so... That's kind of why it ended up the way it did, but... And yeah, for some reason you have this weird Hellgate. I guess that's the entrance, and yeah, that you can't really do anything there. So yeah. But yeah, other than that, as for what I've mainly been doing recently, well, as I say, I've been playing more Tales of Berseria. As I say, it's... I don't really know what to say on that game yet, I really don't. Like, it's really difficult for me to say much on it. Like, the combat, from what I've seen so far, like, there's a lot of stuff in the combat, a lot of stuff. And what I'm gathering from the game is that they're really trying to make it, like, they're trying to make it the next big thing. But the way I see it, Ys has just curb stomped it. Now, I know that a lot of people would say, well, Ys has been curb stomping it for years, but you gotta remember that Ys was very different from Tales back in the day. Now, it has a party system and everything else, and it's in full 3D, and as a result, it's kind of like, yeah, what does Tales have now to compete with Ys? That's a good question. And as Ys 8 has basically got everything now that Ys, well, that makes Ys like basically at the top now. In a way, Famicom are basically leading. They're basically at the top now. They are pretty much leading JRPGs into the future, whether we like it or not. And ultimately, some would see that as a good thing. I'm kind of indifferent. I don't really care, to be honest, who does, as long as they don't do any bullshit. And Famicom have never wronged me, so I can't really say anything problematic with them. But I do think they're kind of like getting ahead. I mean, a lot of people would say Atlas with Persona and all that lot, but to be perfectly honest, like, as popular as that series is, I just, like, I don't consider that to be the same as most JRPGs. I don't. Like, I think that's something else. I think that's a completely separate thing entirely, compared with most, well, that does lot, compared with most JRPGs. It's not really the same. It's its own thing, I like to say, because it's got this life sim in it and all that, and yeah, it's like, not everybody wants that shit. I know I don't. And yeah, that's the thing. It's like, I basically consider that a separate entity. People are going to play that regardless of whether they're into JRPGs or not. That's just the way it is. It's different audience, different everything. Whereas, as far as traditional RPGs are concerned, I would say that Ys is probably the one to bring it further into, like, in terms of action RPGs, it's the one that's the furthest ahead. And, like, as I say, I think Famicom, I think they have a lot of potential to go far. And it saddens me really, because Famicom hold all the cards now, and Tri-Ace don't. Tri-Ace are in serious shit right now. And really, at this point, we can't really rely on Tri-Ace to save the industry, or to, like, keep JRPGs strong. And to be honest, I don't think we can rely on Namco either. I really don't. I mean, sure, they're trying with Berseria, but to be perfectly honest, I just think that Falcom have breathed new life into it. You've also got to remember that Atlas... Oh, hang on a minute. I need to, no, not that. There we go. Let's get some spectacles so we can identify shit. But yeah, like, Square is just not... They've lost the plot. They really have. And Atlas... Like, the thing about Atlas is they don't just make... They're a publisher as well, for the most part, whereas Falcom, they're mostly just making games. And that's the thing, you see, like, I can't really rely on a publisher to send JRPGs forward. I want to look for, like, the smaller companies, myself, and that's the reason why I say Falcom is the hope, really. And the thing is, I haven't really played that much of Falcom's games. I played Jie and Legendary Heroes Trails in the Sky, and that's about it. But Jie, I really liked it, and because of that, I think they are pretty much the hope for the future of JRPGs. Because, like, that game had something that, I mean, it's different with certain games because some JRPGs have... They all serve different purposes, and Ys is one of the few JRPGs that really goes back to the old adventurous feel of like the old school, but also mixes in a lot of modern elements and like with the character interaction and stuff, but also keeps the gameplay strong and simple but fun, so that it feels like you have a lot of exploration and stuff, and that you've got a bit of everything in there, but not in the bad way. Yep, I'm gonna flip the switch. Right, as I say, it offers a bit of everything in the sense that you've got, like, in terms of its theme, like, the whole idea of you being a castaway is something really interesting. Something that a lot of JRPGs really haven't been doing in a while is coming up with interesting concepts, and I think that the whole castaway thing really works and is a really cool idea. Whereas, like, most JRPGs, they tend to opt for, like, something more generic. And I think that the whole idea of that is great, and the fact that they've kept the combat strong, and the fact that it really ties in with the whole, like, explore the world sort of thing, as it's a game that really makes you want to explore, as exploring is a big part of what makes Jie. Well, it seems to have a lot of everything that you really want to see in a game. Now, I just want to make sure I've got the right stuff. Yeah, I should get... How many reflex armors do I have anyways? Yeah, magic attacks will heal you. Nice. Right, I don't know what he's got. If he's got anything new, no, he hasn't. What about you? There's that star cloak, isn't there? But there's also mithril mesh. Which should I get? Let's get mithril mesh. So that's kind of the reason why I think Falcom are going to lead the charge, really. I mean, as for Trails, that's not my thing. I tried Trails in the Sky, it's just not really for me. But I think a lot of people are into it, and honestly, I think that people are definitely going to, like, I think that there's more potential for that than a lot of JRPGs, in terms of turn-based at least. But yeah, it's another example of a game that kind of mixes the old school with like more modern ideas, but takes the best of both in that sense. But at the same time, like, I'm all about Jie more so. Like, Trails in the Sky didn't do much for me at all. I think the game's alright, and I think I do see that there is some appeal to it, but it's just not my cup of tea personally. I'm trying to get away as well from a lot of turn-based RPGs for the most part. Not that I'm completely getting away from them, it's just that I'm just trying to do something different. Like, I want to play more action RPGs and stuff, yeah, I'm gonna save state here because this guy can stun me and I don't want to have to redo everything. Yeah, the stun status element in this game is bloody lethal. See? I'm in the road state now. There we go. Well, yeah, you like your mechs. Trails of Cold Steel to me, kind of, it's like from what I saw of, like, the story, like, I looked at basic, like, I watched someone stream it, and it seems that there's kind of like, it's kind of doing a White Knight Chronicles with all these, like knight things, and I take it that's what you mean by the mechs. And I always found White Knight Chronicles to be, like, hilariously bad. So, yeah, I think that's pretty... Like, speaking of which, there's actually a game that I've been playing which kind of has something similar. Like, I don't know what you consider to be a mech. Like, whether it has to be, like, futuristic to be a mech, or whether it's just, like, a, like, giant walking suit of armor that you consider to be, like, mech sort of thing. But I don't know, but the game that I've been playing recently has something similar to a mech. I don't know if... But basically it's kind of like they have this, like, armor that they transform into and stuff. Escaflowne with a heavy dose of aura battle. Dumby. I don't even know what that is. But, yeah, like... As I said, the thing that stops me from playing Cold Steel is, well, one, the fact that Trails in the Sky wasn't really my thing, and two, the fact that it has a high school setting, and I'm tired of those settings. Well, I never liked those settings to begin with. But, yeah, those are the reasons why I'm not bothered with it. But, yeah, I think if people like it, then good for them. But I'll just stick with Yeast, because Yeast does what I want. And that's the thing, like, I like the fact that Yeast focuses on, like, you're an explorer and exploring this island and stuff. I think that's a really cool idea. Yeah, just gonna see if there's more treasures around. There's quite a lot of treasures in here. Right, let's kill that Medusa guy fast. There we go. Yeah, we got him. Good. But I think that a lot of JRPGs these days. Yeah, I bet you are sick to death with it. Like, but I like how Yeast brings back, like, the whole idea of exploration. Like, back in the day, it's like games used to be about exploring a world. I mean, with Star Ocean, like, it kind of has a bit of a hint of that as well in certain ways, but... Oh, hang on a minute, this looks like a very important room. But yeah, like, it has a bit of exploration here and there going into, like, the ruins, but I think this game mostly focuses on, like, the crafting system and character interaction and, like, all that lot. That's kind of what this game focuses on in certain ways, but not necessarily the characters as such. It's kind of weird as this one because it focuses a lot on its crafting system and stuff, and, like, the whole, like, variables on the private actions and stuff. But for the most part, I think this game is it's all about, like, the whole idea of it. And I mean, it is based on Star Trek, obviously, so it's going to try and deal with a lot of philosophical stuff. And that's what kind of makes Star Ocean interesting to me, because it focuses on that stuff. But at the same time, as I say, you do get to explore a mostly medieval world in this game, with a hint of sci-fi. Yeah, I agree, like, we need more, like, I like how this game, or this series, oh shit, I've just been stoned. Hang on. Right, serious fan, going to switch to you. And you can unstone fanatics. If I can find the unstone thing. Be somewhere at the top. Right, what have we got here? Right. I know that we have cure stone somewhere, but I don't know where it is. Yeah, it's kind of weird as... Oh, I'll just use a liquor ball. That'll do. But yeah, like... That's one thing I do like that is handled well in JRPGs. I find that sci-fi is really handled well because you get a lot of... Oh, yeah, I'm using CS, that's why. Hey, Baron, how's it going? But yeah, like, I find that JRPGs handle the sci-fi stuff really well. It never feels boring, and like... Because a lot of sci-fi games, like, that are Western, I just can't get into. I just think that they take themselves... Like, they focus too much on military shit. And whereas this game, yeah, it has the military shit, but it kind of like throws it out the window, and it's just like, you know, we're just gonna rebel against the military and do our own thing. And that's kind of what Star Ocean goes for. I find it amusing. Right, jewel suit now, handy. And yeah, like that's the thing. I really want to see like, I really want to see more sci-fi, particularly like space exploration games out there, and that's why I go for Star Ocean. Because, but I also like the fact that it's a hybrid with fantasy, because I like to have a bit of both. I do, and that's the thing, you see. And Star Ocean gives you a bit of both, a bit of technology, but also a bit of like fantasy. And yeah, sure, games like Chrono Trigger did it as well, but I just like how this game focuses on that mashup aspect. But yeah, Mass Effect, that's the thing. I'm just not a fan of Mass Effect for that. Oh, I didn't get the box, did I? Elven boots. Don't know what if they're any good. But it's like Mass Effect was just boring to me. I just couldn't. Like, I played the first game and I thought it was alright, nothing special, but the thing about it is, and it's not that JRPGs tell better stories than Western RPGs, which, well, even though they do in a lot of cases. Like, it's just that, because here's the thing, like, my favourite story in a video game is a Western game, and not in a Japanese game. But the thing is, Western RPGs tend to tell really shitty stories. And, yeah, like, I find that Japanese RPGs, they're just ridiculous to the point that you just can't help but love them. And I just like the fact that they're just so cheesy and stuff, because the way I see it is video game stories, I don't like taking games seriously. I'm not into all this serious storytelling unless it's got a little bit of cheesiness to it. And that's the thing, like, that's the reason why I like Warcraft 3, because it doesn't really, like, yes, it has some serious bits in it, and it's more or less a serious plot, but it's got sections in it that are just, like, silly, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't completely take itself seriously. Like, it's like in the final battle of Warcraft 3, where Arthas is basically making fun of Kel'Thas because he stole his, like, mainly because he's like, because basically it goes into the lore, I don't want to go on too much into it. Basically, Kel'Thas had a crush on Jaina, but because Jaina, like, had a relationship with Arthas, when Arthas fights Kel'Thas in the final fight, Arthas taunts him by saying, like, are you still upset that I stole Jaina from you? And then Kel'Thas goes absolutely fucking mad, and it's just like, it's stupid. That's the thing, it's just like, you wouldn't have a conversation like that in a serious battle, but it happens, and it's shit like that which I find amusing. And that's the thing, it's like, so many games, stories just take themselves way too seriously, and it's like how can you take Warcraft 3 story seriously? It's like the Dreadlords, for example. I like the Dreadlords, but I don't deny that they're like generic stupid villains. They're supposed to be. They're supposed to take the piss out of the generic evil villain. Like, we're just gonna gather around. It's just, they're basically like Organization 13. Let's gather around and plot things in the background and do evil stuff. Meanwhile, like, we're just not going to really get involved in the actual fight. We're just going to stay in the background and watch. You know what I mean? And a lot of bad guys are kind of like that. But yeah, and yeah, all that political agenda bullshit as well. That's kind of annoying. But it's like for example, I just like, it's a bit like how bad things you say that game's like, what's the word? Like you have a really good word to describe it. Forgotten what game you said about it, but like when you have all this Hollywood style stuff, it kind of ends up like this. But like, pretentious. That's it. That was the perfect word to describe a lot of Western RPG stories, particularly games like Witcher 3. Like, that game has really potential. It's just so pretentious. It's unbelievable. Like, it's like the main protagonist of that game. Like, it's like people get absolutely pissed off when an edgelord is in a JRPG. Why? I have no idea. Like, what's wrong with edgelords being in JRPGs? But if you dare piss off Witcher fans with their Geralt and call him edgy, then, you know, shit hits the fan. It's like, you can't call a Japanese character edgy. Like, Japanese characters can't be edgy. It's against the rules. But Western characters have to be edgy, you know what I mean? Unless it's Kingdom Come Deliverance, where you have, like, fucking Henry. Yeah, Razor Fist. All he does is complain, so, yeah. But that's the thing, it's just like, Warcraft 3, to me, like, if Warcraft 3 was like a JRPG, it would probably be one of my favourites. Definitely. But the thing about Warcraft 3 is it manages to tell an interesting and serious story, but it doesn't take itself too seriously, and it isn't overly pretentious with it. It's just like, well, let's just, like, it's a bit like strategy RPGs, but I like the world and the lore of it a lot. Like, they really make it interesting, and that's the one thing. Oh, hang on a minute. Oh, great, we've got a puzzle here. It's like, for example, like like, I like how the orcs have a personality, and they have like a code of honor. They're not just random savages. Like, there's a reason for why they are the way they are. And it's because of this that you get more involved in the world and more interested in it. And, like, for me, I like the villains, like the Burning Legion myself. And, yeah. Like, the Burning Legion, I just think was really amazing concept, and it really blends in well with the whole theme of it all. Because the whole idea of Warcraft 3 is kind of expressing how everybody's got, like, different values and how their values clash, and that's kind of the whole idea and theme of Warcraft 3's story. Yeah, I think this is a puzzle. Great. But yeah, that's the thing, like, the orcs, I think the orcs are some of the better characters in the series. Like, there's some really cool orc characters, and, like, I mean, I'm a fan of the Legion the most, don't get me wrong, but I'd say the second best are probably the orcs. Like, just the way they're handled, and some of the best books in Warcraft are of the orcs as well. And it's like, I really wish that JRPGs had characters like the orcs, like, or had orc characters in them. Like, go more Tolkien, you know what I mean? Like, I'd like to see that. Because orcs are interesting, as a lot of people see them as the savage orc, but it would be nice to see them as JRPG characters. I think that would be an interesting thing. Like, if you're going to mesh JRPGs and Western RPGs together, I think having an orc character in an JRPG would be a good way to do that. Yeah, this is going to be complicated, isn't it? Oh, hang on a minute, what's going on here? Don't tell me I have to look up a guide. Yeah, that's the thing, like, because it's like, as if you were to read Lord of the Clans, that book really sums up, like, just it really sums everything up in a lot of ways, because in that book it really shows just how much, like, it shows that you can't really take evil at face value, and nothing is like 100, like nothing is good or evil inherently. And you can see you can see that the humans are just as evil as the orcs. Like, neither of them are good, but neither of them are evil. There's no real, like, it's all a moral grey area. Yeah, I'm gonna have to look up a guide here, which is a bit unfortunate, but yeah, hang on a minute. Because I need to know this switch puzzle. I forgot this switch puzzle was there. Right, well, let's go on this top one here. Right, hang on, we're nearly there. Right, that sounds melodious. Where is... Oh, hang on, all this shit. Right, 5 switches on a door. Go to the upper left door and pass that, and start there, press that switch. And work your way anti-clockwise. Right, that makes sense. The only thing I don't remember is what is anti-clockwise for me. But yeah, that's the thing, like, good and evil in just about everyone, and that's kind of the whole idea of it, really. Yeah, maybe I should leave the room. Might be a good idea. See if it resets it. No, it doesn't. Right, I have to turn the switches off then. Oh, hang on a minute, what the hell? Oh, what? Oh, yeah, push the switch. Oh, it's open. I didn't even need to do that. I solved it myself, I guess. But yeah, that's the thing, it's like... And a lot of the the thing that pisses me off about World of Warcraft the most is that they try and... The thing is that they try to split it up. Like, you have Horde players and Alliance players. And there's like this supposedly this huge war between the Alliance and Horde, but at the same time there's kind of not, but at the same time there kind of is. And yeah, I'd say Grandia 2 is great about that in general. Like, Grandia 2 for me is my favourite JRPG story because of the characters. And like, it's like, because that game talks about that as well, but I think, oh yeah, we're nearly at the end here. Like, it's not, and this is the thing, Star Ocean is also going to pull this in a minute as well. Like, the whole idea of nothing is completely right nor completely wrong. And yeah, that's the thing that I really like to see. But at the same time, I just like how each character has the, like, each race has its own culture in Warcraft, but each character within its race has their own personality. And that makes it even more interesting, because not only do you have different cultures, like any game can have multiple cultures, but to have distinguishable characters within that culture who clash with other characters in the same culture, that's when it gets interesting. It's like, for example, the Night Elves are mostly like, they're like, oh yeah, we don't tolerate all this shit. Like, they're very authoritarian and stuff, and it's like they have certain laws. And then you have Illidan, and Illidan is like edgy as fuck, like one of the edgiest characters ever. Like, he's up there with Zeke Warhite on the edgeometer, but like, he's basically a rebel, and and basically the Night Elves hate him, even though he's a member of their race. He doesn't really conform to the Night Elves' ways, and he does his own thing, and he's like, he rebels against their order, and they hate him for it, and they judge him for it, and they always have judged him for it. But at the same time, Illidan is a hero. If you played Warcraft 3 and you got to the mission where, and it's interesting because Illidan actually kills the leader of the Dreadlords. That's how awesome he is. He is like the true hero of the Warcraft series, because if Illidan didn't kill Tychondrius, then the world would be in some serious shit. But yeah, oh look, he looked a bit like Vegeta. That's the main villain of this game, Vegeta. He looks even more like Vegeta when you go into battle. But yeah, you'll see in a minute that this game also pulls the same thing. Like, your plan is to make people suffer. And then he says, the Federation is the one that truly causes the people suffering. And this is what I find interesting about this game. Even though this game is clearly unfinished, and clearly has a lot of, like, you can clearly tell that this game was planning to be something more. It was supposed to have this second world, and have all of this, like, story built around Fargate and Jie Revorse, and, like, explaining his character more and going into more detail. And you can clearly tell that there was supposed to be all that. And it was supposed to be more about the Federation itself. But what he says here is pretty interesting. He says, like, Ratic says that that Jie Revorse is trying to make people suffer. But Jie Revorse just says here, he says, no. He says, what are you talking about? The Federation are the ones that are truly causing the people suffering. And if you think about that, for a second, it kind of makes sense. And if you see his, he says, you force other people to join your little social group you call the Federation. You steal natural resources and you make other people your slaves. And it's like, how are you not making people suffer? You see, this is what I like about this guy. This is a great villain. Like, and the only problem with this villain is he appears at the last minute and there's no real build-up for the villain. But when you finally actually get to the villain and you encounter him, he's actually a pretty... and this guy's a superhuman. He's basically a cyborg, so he's not supposed to have too much of a personality, but his words, and he's expressing the words of the people of Fargate. But at the same time, he's an extremist, like most villains are. A bit like how Albert Simon in Shadow Hearts is kind of like an extremist, in the sense that he wants to save the world from oppression. This guy's kind of doing the same thing. He wants to save the world from the Federation, because he doesn't want the Federation to get too big. Because if the Federation gets too big, then they control everything, and when you control everything and you have a monopoly over everything, you have absolute power, and you're pretty much like the Emperor of the universe. And Fargate, like, Jie Revorse kind of sees that, and sees the truth of the Federation. It's not this righteous order that people make it out to be. It's actually an organization that may have had good intentions at first, but it's not as simple as that. There's no real grey area. But, like, there's a real grey area with it, because they're not pure good, because they just have their idea of what is order, and, you know, as I say, they're very authoritarian, but that doesn't make them right. And that's what Jie Revorse points out. He's saying the Federation aren't right. What they're doing is wrong. They're trying to take control of, take advantage of other planets. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to develop new technology based on what they learn from other worlds. So they're taking advantage of other worlds and taking other worlds' resources. So, yeah, they are just as evil as Fargate and Jie Revorse, if you think about it. And it's all a political thing. It's just like politics. Everybody has their own opinion on politics, but no one's right or wrong. Everyone has their own perception as to what is right and what is wrong. And this game kind of covers that with this villain. This game kind of handles that idea of, like, this guy isn't completely evil, but he's not completely good. But neither is the Federation. And, yeah, and how he's like, you force people to join the Federation. And that's another thing that he is absolutely right about. If you were to play some of the later Star Ocean games, you'd see that even more so, where, like, they basically try to get as many people in as possible. And, yeah, they're more than just an organization in a way. They are kind of like a nation as such, and they're trying to, like, pull people into this. It's a bit like if you're pulling people into a cult, if you know what I mean. Like, and Ronick says we don't thrust our weapons at them. That's just your twisted interpretation. But the thing about it is he's being figurative when he says that. He doesn't. Basically, he's saying over time they're trying to build up their ranks, and they're constantly building themselves up to get stronger and stronger and stronger. Basically, what he's saying is they have an agenda. And Jie Revorse and the people of Fargate know that the Federation have an agenda, and they know not to trust the Federation. So they've got this cynical idea about the Federation, and they've kind of taken it to an extremes. And unfortunately for everyone on Rogue, like, they paid the price for this political squabble, if that makes sense. And then he says something really interesting here. It's like, it's survival of the fittest. And I mentioned this on Twitter, actually, because someone was leaving a comment, and someone made a comment, and it's like, they said, compassion and... I forgot what it is. Compassion something is very important. Like, and then someone else, one of my friends on Twitter, like, he commented and he said, well, like, something along those lines. It's like, the problem is that people only have compassion for the people that they truly care about. If they have a disagreement with that person, they have no compassion for them. And then the other person said, well, we only block people if we have, like, I know I should be continuing this again. I just want to talk about this, but, like, we only block people if they have, and basically around about the same. We only block people if they are mean-spirited, or they said in this. They didn't say exactly this, but they said in a roundabout way. Basically, if they disagree with our views, we will block them. And then that's the thing. It's like, really, all it comes down to, there is no real compassion. The reason why people have compassion is because they're afraid. They're afraid that bad things will happen to them, and so they're compassionate to others because that will bring hope to them. But the truth is, and it always has been this way, it's survival of the fittest. Humans are fighting against one another, and the only reason why we're not fighting against each other now is because of the law. Because if we didn't have laws, if we didn't have rules, we'd be murdering each other right now. Well, yeah, as well, but it goes beyond that. Because, really, look at Donald Trump, for example. Donald Trump, as I said, he was the Genghis Khan of the modern era. He pretty much is. The guy is, even though, like, he would, like, let's put it this way. We all know that if Dwayne Johnson fought against Donald Trump, Dwayne Johnson would just floor him. But that's not how the world works. That's not how survival of the fittest applies to humanity because of the way the system is designed. The system is designed to not allow violence. Instead, battles are fought with money. Whoever has the most money is the strongest. And survival of the fittest depends on who has the most money. And of course, there's always going to be those without the money. So it still applies to humanity. In a way, it is reality. No matter what ideology you have, no matter what you believe, and no matter how much compassion you think that matters, no matter how much you think compassion matters, that's the truth. Everyone is competing against one another. And the thing is, yeah, sure, like, I mean, we're not enemies. Like, I'm pretty sure everyone on the stream isn't each other's enemies, but the thing about it is that friendship helps people. Like, it's more convenient, because if you have friends, then it means, well, not only is it great to hang around with them, but at the same time, it's like, it means that, like, you can be stronger in unity, and humans kind of rely on that, and that's the reason why humans are very different from animals in that respect. I know I'm going too deep into this, but yeah, that's the thing. Like, but really, with animals, it's like, animals, they go like, they are very simplistic. It's just like whoever mauls the other animal wins and gets to continue the and gets the offspring to continue their race. It's basically how it works, because they have the stronger genes. And it's the same thing with humanity, except now it's whoever has the most money gets to feed their family. That way they get to live and pass on their genes. That's kind of how it is. But yeah, I should get back to the game. But yeah, we get to fight Vegeta. So, yeah, that's all, like, white-haired Vegeta. He's gotten a bit old as Vegeta, and, like, well, yeah, he's gotten a bit older, and, yeah. But he still looks the same. He's still got his scouter, and he's got black clothes now. That's the only difference. But yeah, basically, Vegeta in his... Oh, shit. Not a good time for this shit. Right. Yeah, Vegeta in his old age, that's what I call him. But yeah, this guy isn't really too difficult. Yeah. We killed him. If Vegeta has aged in the future. But yeah, I don't know why you get money for this. Because this is the final fight. Well, actually no, this isn't the final fight. There is more to it. But yeah. I can't get over the fact that he looks so much like Vegeta. But yeah, if you have Marvel in the party, you have slightly different scene here. But yeah, Rokians and Fargetians are both descendants of Morians. Now in case you're wondering what that means, basically, remember that continent that you saw in the Purgatorium, or the Parish Temple, whatever you want to call it, and there was that huge continent? Well, that vanished from the world, and that everyone on that continent was transported to either Roke or Farget, and the ones that went onto Roke lived in harmony because they had resources, but the people who went to Farget were on a desolate world with no resources, as he's going to explain here. And because of that, they struggled to get by, and the only way that they could survive is by creating new bodies for themselves and trying to obtain new technology. So really, in a way, the people of Farget, and Jie Revorse is trying to express that, he's trying to express the people's frustrations because they've been struggling living life on here, whereas Roke has not, and because of that they kind of have this envy of people on Roke, and that's why they deployed the biological weapons on Roke, so that they could essentially make Roke pay for having all of the resources and everything for themselves, and that way Farget would essentially get their revenge. And basically, yeah, that's kind of the gist of it in a way. But basically, like, they envy Earthlings and Rokians. That's kind of the gist of it, and because of that, that's why they're doing evil things. But really, in truth, they're actually struggling and they're suffering because the planet is desolate and it was not meant for humans or Morians. But yeah, get ready for the easiest final boss fight of all time. This is it. And yes, he transforms into a giant robot. Of course you have to transform into a fucking giant robot when you're the final boss. I mean, come on, it's obvious, isn't it? But yeah, I'm gonna make this guy joke. If I can find victory. He probably will die very quickly anyways. But I want to swap to, oh, hang on. I want to swap to Neck. You can... I'm just going to spam Mirror Slice. I'm not even going to bother using Roddick, I don't need to use him. I want to see if I can one-shot him. I know it's possible. Final Super Saiyan mode, there's a giant robot, yep. Also, if you pay attention to the music here, like, it's not really a super epic track, and it's also not really a super, like, awesome track. It's actually a very somber track. And that kind of emphasizes what you're facing. Right, let's see if we can actually get this working. It can take some tries sometimes, but I have done it before, so I know it's possible. Let's see if I can do it. Plus, this makes the fight more interesting because it would take seconds if I use Roddick. It would take fucking seconds because I have 2 charms equipped. But yeah, I want to see if I can actually kill him. But yeah, he's got that defense thing that makes him a little bit harder. But yeah, he's not that hard really. For some reason, when he gets stunned, he's still invincible. I don't know why, but he is. But yeah, this is probably the weirdest final boss ever. Like in terms of like making sense. Oh shit! He's got his machine guns. His machine guns of doom. Right. I'm making this fight like look harder than it actually is, aren't I? Really, but it's actually very easy. Like if I was using Roddick, I'd kill him in seconds. But yeah, I want to see if Mirror Slice can kill him. Oh, yep, dead. Goodbye, final boss. You just got killed in 1 hit. Yep, there you go. Proof that you can kill the final boss in 1 hit, even though it took multiple hits. But yeah, that when he cuts through the moon, that's basically instant death effect, and it has a chance of instantly killing any enemy, including the final boss. That's how broken Tanek is, and that's why I use him. But yeah, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to see if Mirror Slice would one-shot him, and it did. I know I've done it before, but I just wanted to show it to just prove to you that just how broken that move is. I mean, it doesn't, as I say, it does take some time to get working, but it does have a chance of instant death, and the fact that it has a chance to instantly kill the final boss is fucking brilliant. But yeah, it's silly because I could have killed that guy so much quicker. I really could. I wonder what ending I'll get. But yeah, what I saw inside this man was pure hatred for the people who created him and for himself. Yeah, really much. But this is the reason why I prefer the first Star Ocean over all the Star Oceans. Because the first Star Ocean has the best villain. It does. Except from the fact that it's rushed. If this game had more time and if this game had all of its content that was planned for it, because I'm pretty sure there was more to it. There was going to be more to the second world, more to Fargate, there was going to be more to explore. I mean, the remake even adds more to it, so yeah, it doesn't completely add too much, but it adds more to it, which makes things a bit more interesting, but still, I think there's more that wasn't in the game. I had a lot of fun being with you guys. Yeah, I'm sure we did with all the drinking we did. I mean, after all, CS was just along for the action. That's the only reason why he was here. And he got what he came for. That's for certain. But yeah, that's the thing. And that's the reason why they made Star Ocean 2, because they wanted to put it on PS1. But the thing is, they designed this for SNES, but the development time took so long because they spent so much time trying to do the private actions and everything else, and the crafting and stuff, when really the thing about, and also the visuals for the time were pretty good, to the point that the development time kind of took too long, and that's why it was released so late. I'll become a famous warrior, so famous that even 300 years in the future you'll all know about... well, you'll all know about me. Yeah, we got CS's ending. But we got the CS's, other ending. And also notice that he said the Crimson Shield. Yeah. And yeah, shows that crystal which has disappeared. To next ending as well. There is a better ending, but to get it, you have to have a certain set of characters, and honestly, I'm not going to get it in this stream because it would take too much time. But yeah. If Ranma could transform into a werewolf, then it would be Tanek. But yeah, that's it pretty much. So we got Tanek's ending and we got Sears' ending, which I don't think was bad. I guess Joshua didn't give a fuck. He didn't like us enough. Maybe it's because I was a dick to him. I don't know. But yeah, that's kind of the gist of it. That's the end. So yeah, that kind of explains why Star Ocean 1 is such a short game. Because Star Ocean 1 was, as I say, it has... Like we were talking about Devil May Cry 4 having cut content. This game also has cut content, but at the same time, it's still a good game. But it's just short because of it. Like this game, I swear this game was meant to be 20 hours longer. I swear this game was meant to be, or at least another 10 hours longer than it actually was. Like, maybe not 20 hours longer, but this game was at least meant to be 10 hours longer. I swear it must have been. Like, Rogue was just setting things up for the big event on Fargate, and if you really think about it, and it's not like Jie Revorse came out of nowhere like Nepcoin in Final Fantasy IX. He actually was directly connected to the events that happened on Rogue. He was the one behind the stone curse, or what, the stone sickness thing that he sent, like basically the biological weapon that was sent down to Rogue that caused everyone to turn into stone. He was responsible for that. So he was the main villain of the game. You just didn't know who he was, and really, once you found out who he was, I think there was going to be more to it, where you got to like roam around Fargate and have more interaction with the villain and maybe his cronies and stuff. But they clearly didn't have the time, so they clearly rushed it. But despite that, I still really like this game a lot. I like how it handled the villain, even though he was rushed in. I think that he is the most interesting of the villains in the series. I mean, yeah, sure, the villain in Star Ocean 3 is interesting, but the villain in Star Ocean 3 is fucking ridiculous and stupid. I don't think you could have a stupider villain than... new BMG video, I might check it out afterwards. You'll laugh if you see the thumbnail. But yeah, like, as I say, that's the thing about it. Like, I like how it wasn't so black and white with the ending, and it actually had you consider that that these guys aren't pure evil. They're just trying to survive, but they also have different values and different interests, and that's what I like about it. But at the same time, it kind of explores the interesting philosophy of what if people on Earth went to space, because you have things like the Bermuda Triangle and stuff, and like they disappear and you're never seen again. Like, it kind of explores that and kind of gives an answer to it, which I think is pretty awesome. But yeah, like, this being Trice's first game, I think was pretty damn solid, if you ask me. But yeah, it like, come to think of it, like, after playing a bit of Suikoden 1, I can actually see why Suikoden 1 came out before this, because this game, in my opinion, has better visuals than Suikoden 1. A lot of people would argue me on that one, but I think that it does, personally. But yeah, you get this little bit at the end. Well, yeah, the first one. The first Suikoden just looks... yeah. Even if it was on SNES, it would kind of look pretty bland. But yeah, I just couldn't get into Suikoden 1 at all. Maybe Suikoden 2 is better, but the thing that bothered me, and this is the reason why I don't know about Suikoden 2, the thing that bothered me the most is the combat. Beyond the Beyond, yeah, I think that came out before as well. Just because you have a game on better hardware doesn't necessarily mean it's a better game. That's basically the moral of the story, isn't it? But yeah. But yeah, if you do get the best ending, this ending is a lot longer and it's better. Oh, and by the way, Phoenix, in case you're wondering who Claude's parents are, they're on the right-hand side of the screen. Yeah. I don't think you have seen it if you went Raina's path, but Ronix is actually Claude's dad, and Ilya is Claude's mother. Yeah, exactly. That's how it's connected. But you went Raina's path, so you didn't see that, but you do see Ronix in Star Ocean 2. He does reappear. And you can tell, if you saw Ilya's fighting style, like, she has moves that Claude uses. Like, even though he doesn't use it, like, this exactly the same, like, it's retranslated, but there's certain moves that she uses in this game, which, like, if you played first part, you'd see it. Like, she uses moves like Meteor Palm, which is a move that Claude uses in Star Ocean 2. So yeah, he inherits her moveset. So that's kind of how it works, and plus the fact that she's got blonde hair like he does. But yeah, that's basically it. That's the end of the first game. But once you finish the game, I think that you unlock something at the end. Or do you? I'm trying to remember now. Maybe you don't. But I could hang on, I'll just save state just in case there is something. But other than that, I'm gonna just reset the game just a sec, so I can see if I've got all the songs and stuff. And I think I might show a few extra things, but it depends if I can. But yeah, there's the sound thing where you can listen to the music and stuff. For some reason, Tales of Fantasia and Star Ocean have a very complicated one. I don't know why though. Right, hang on a minute. But yeah, you can change them. Like, you got this song, which is awesome. And then we've got that's the final boss theme. See if I can find a really good one. But there's a lot of good ones. This one's really good. I like this one. Yeah, like, yeah, I love this song. Like when it plays in the demon world. That's pretty awesome part of the game. Is that? Yeah. But yeah, other than that, I'm going to see if I can, and yeah, when you beat the game, you get the star. Well, when you save at the final save point, at least. But I want to see if I can, right, hang on a minute. First of all, right, you've got tons of it. Right, you can be the Oracle guy. Right, playfulness, radar, and I think there's something else. This is basically from memory. No, I don't think it's that fairy lore, maybe. No, it wasn't. No, that's not it. I'll be able to find it at some point. Ah, here we are. Oracle. So yeah, use this ability, and once it's maxed out, you can go to Special, and you can go to Oracle and Execute, and once you do that, you get here, which is the developer's room of the game. And no, that's not Shigeru Miyamoto, thankfully. It was, with the not very happy to see him. I think that's the director of the game. I'm not sure, Jun, because there's... maybe not, I don't know. Oh no, it isn't the director, no. just a guy called Jun. But yeah, these are developers basically. I want to go journey by bicycle. Yeah, it's just lots of random shit basically. It's interesting how this is the only game in the series to have a developer's room. But yeah. And yeah, that's basically how you get out. You can hear what the gods of creation, the members of Triace, have to say. Great. After all this work, I think I know even less about grammar than I did when I started. But anyway. If you need any... Oh yeah, these are basically the translators at DJAP. My stomach's a black hole, and it's called Tomato. Yeah, this is basically the DJAP shit. And we all love DJAP, don't we? And yeah, that's the optional dungeon. Right, we've done that one. There's this one here. Right. And for those people borrowing it off someone, please buy a copy soon. We'll release it over here then. I drew all the confusing maps that show up throughout the game. Oh, so you're the one to blame then, are you, Kenichi? Yeah, you're the one behind all the bullshit that this game has, and that stupid dungeon with the ridiculously, like, my guitar skills have really gone down the drain since I do nothing but draw pictures anymore. But yeah, like, he's the one behind it. Remember his name, people. He's the one who caused me all this shit, all this bullshit to happen in this stream. But yeah, there's that Pi member, and yeah. Graphics, we get it. Graphics are amazing. Right. There's also this room as well. Let's see what's going on here. That makes me the man, apparently. But yeah, like I think this is like I don't think like all of the big developers are there. All the little ones. I might not have done very well this time around, scenario writer. Right, I really want to start writing it soon, huh? I think he's talking about Star Ocean 2. He lies, he lies. I'm talking about Peter Molyneux. Yes, it was. In charge of apologies. Yeah, notice that I say making two SNES RPGs. The other one that he's talking about is Tales of Fantasia. It was practically impossible. Everything in this game made you really mad while you were playing. How about waiting for our next one? A compilation of 2 RPGs plus Alpha. I hope that's not the Alpha we know. But yeah, once you go through here, oh, you get back here to Revorse Tower. But yeah, if we do it again, we can go back to Road. And this is the only way to actually... Oh, no, not I don't want to call the pigeon. Right. If you want to get back to Roke, you go through this door here. And then you're back in Tatroy. But if you go up here, then you end in the bonus dungeon. But yeah, this is basically, as I say, bonus dungeon started with this. There's a lot of flaws in this dungeon, and yeah. Oh shit. But yeah, I'm not going to spend too much time in here. Might look at a different game to play once I've just after this fight, just for the time being. I don't know. Let's see. Yeah, I might play something simple or something. Not a simple series game though. But yeah, I'm gonna cut this game and I'll see if there's anything else. See what else I've got that would be interesting to play.